compare it with some specific text or like whatever I'm expecting. So we can check that, right? And we also saw how to iterate. I'll just share my screen. Okay, just give me a second. Just let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yeah.
Right. So this is something that we saw last week. And if you see, this is something like what I'm considering is it is a static table. So that is anytime when I open, I will get a fixed table with a fixed number of rows and columns, right? So this is what we call as a static table. And see, I don't want to worry about how many rows are there, how many columns are there here, right? Because it is a static table. So now based on the requirement, so if you look at here, this is something that we took the other day. So I want to go to second row, fourth column and check whether that has Java in it and whether it is visible. So this is how you can check. And suppose I want to iterate, right? Maybe like if you see in this case, I want to iterate second column in all the rows, right? In all the rows means typically this one, second column. So the first column, let me say I have a checkbox over here, and this is my second column. If I want to iterate, so that means I want to check this learn Selenium, learn Java, all this, right? And so how do I do it? I'll write my selector, and I will use each method, right? Using each method, I will take each and every value. And what I'm going to do is, so this is a JavaScript way how you can create your logic, right? So I'll simply say dot text. It will give me the text, store it in one variable. And say, for example, I want to validate. I can also check with some conditions. Say, for example, if author includes Mukesh, that means if I want to check a cell value. So this is how I can check, right? If it includes Mukesh, so then what I want to do, I want to log that specific index, or like probably I want to just go to that specific index using an equal method. So then I want to iterate. Say, for example, I want to just get the book name. So what book this guy have written, right? So from this specific cell, I am just getting some other cell info, right? I can just write a selector, and accordingly I can just retrieve it, and I can just get the text of it, and I can create my logic. I can tweak the logic the way like how I want. So this is what we saw the other day, right? So, but requirements will not always be this way. See, sometimes what happens is, let us consider the same table as a dynamic table, right? So the only difference between a static web table and dynamic web table is, in a dynamic web table, anytime I want to know how many rows are there and how many columns are there. So in a static table, we didn't worried about how many rows, columns were there, right? See, now, anytime, let us assume that whenever I open, sometimes I'll get 5 rows or like 6 columns. The next time when I refresh, I'll get all together a different a table, right? So dynamically, I need to write a logic to retrieve the number of rows and number of columns. Other than that, the logic remains the same, right? So for that, in the interest of time, so today, since it's the last day, so I'm just thought of taking a different approach, right? I have created all the possible concepts that we plan to discuss today, and I don't want to waste time in coding each and everything. So I have a dynamic web table created. So I'm just taking the same table as dynamic. See, now you see there are some additional requirements which I have gathered, which may be useful for your case. One is like, see, sometimes I want to fetch the table header data. So that means whatever you see at the header, if I want to check, right? I can write a selector, something like this, go to the table, and this is the selector that I'm using. This table has a name, then go to the T head. So T head always has the header. Okay, and then in the T head, go to the table row. So then the table header. So that means it will take each and every cell. And I'm just saying, just check whether it has length 6. So that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So I'm just checking, and if I want to extract each and every cell, so then the same concept applies. I can use each method, take it in a variable, and I can just say ele.text. So this is, as I told you, this is a JavaScript way of how to handle things. You can also use a Cypress way. So something like this. I can use a method called wrap, right? See, if you want to integrate it with different methods like invoke, then all that. So these are all Cypress related methods. So this is a normal JavaScript object, which you need to convert it to a Cypress object. So how to do that? You can use sci.wrap method. So if you just say sci.wrap and the JavaScript variable, so that will become a Cypress object. So you can directly use the method, Cypress methods like invoke of text. You remember this logic also we have seen the previous day. Invoke of text, and I'm just taking the text and I'm just printing it. This also will work. Either you can use this way or you can directly say the JavaScript way. Both will work. Right. Okay. So now in a dynamic table, the very important thing is you need to get the number of rows, because I am assuming that I don't know how many rows are there in this table, right? So for that, what we are going to do is I'm just going to write logic. That is also very simple. So you see now I'm just going to the table and I'm just going to the t body, right? And I'm going to use the find method. So you remember this also we have seen, find method and find the row, right? So this, what it will do is this will retrieve how many rows are there, right? So how many ever rows are there, it will take the entire row as a collection. So then I am using a then method, taking each and every row, right? And what I am doing, I am just getting the row length. Row dot length. So this will tell how many items are there in this collection. Okay, so dynamically, if any table comes, if you want to get how many rows are there, you can use this logic, just 2 lines of code. Right. So same way, if you want to get the column, just change the selector. You need to go to the t body. Any row you can take. Say for example, see row in the case like every row, you need to just get this. This is how you will write the selector. See, if you want to get the column, you can take any row. You don't want to iterate all the rows. You can take any one row, okay, and you can take one TD, okay, and you can just check in that row how many TDs are there. See something like this. If you see in t body, I'm just going to the table row nth child of 1. So that means I'm taking this one, right? Any one row. So that is tr nth child of 1, and find how many TDs are there here. So suppose if I go here and inspect the architecture. One second, I'll just take this in the web page. Yeah, it's already here. If I inspect this, you see now any one row, if I go and if I just get the TD, can you see now? Right. So this many TDs will tell how many columns are there. Okay, you can go to any one row and just check how many TDs are there. This will tell how many columns. So this is what the logic I'm using. Go to any one row and find the TD. So then this is the collection. So then take each and every TD in a variable dot column, and you just simply say column dot length. It will tell how many columns are there. Okay, so this is how you can dynamically get the rows and columns. This logic we will use in a dynamic table, because we are not very sure at any point of time how many rows, columns will be there. So suppose if I have a requirement, this many rows, this many columns has to be there. Then after getting it, I can just check the number of rows and number of columns. The same logic what we used in our static web table. I can use this should method and check. Right. Okay. So now you see now next one is to fetch a specific row data. Okay, so this we have seen in the previous static table. I'll refer to a specific row, and in that row I'm just retrieving each and every element and I'm just getting the data. See, suppose if I run this, I'll just run this code. So we will get to understand. Okay, so I have implemented a lot of things. I'll just go one by one. Okay, so this test is passed. So this all we have seen. Yeah, so you see now, so I am just getting all the header values, the log. Okay, if you look at here, this is what I'm doing. I'm just retrieving the text. Okay, so if I retrieve the text, you see now. So the first element doesn't have any text because that is a checkbox. So that is why I don't get anything. Then book name, author, subject, price, status, all that comes. Right. So similarly, if I come down, if you look at here, so this is the selector for the body and how many rows are there? It is telling me 6 rows are there. Right. And now what I'm doing is to find the columns, I'm just taking any one cell. So that is I'm taking the first row and I'm finding the TDs. So there are 6 TDs available. So that is what this displays. Okay. So next time I'm asserting to check this many rows, this many columns are there. That is this. Right. So till now it is clear. Till here. Till statement number 33.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. So next, what I'm going to do is, if you see here, to fetch specific row, that means I want to fetch row number 1. So if you see here, this is the selector that I have written, and you can able to see it is highlighting exactly the first row. Right. So now, what I'm going to do, in this first row, I'm just taking each. This is JavaScript way, right? Each of element. This is the collection. So this will give me one complete row. Right. So from this complete row, I want to take each and every value like learn selenium, Amit, all this in. I want to access this cell values. So you see now, this is the logic, each of E. So what we did in static web table. So get the text, store it in one variable, and I'm just logging it. I'm just saying first row data. That's it. This is one way how you can do. Otherwise, what you can also do is you see this way. I'll go to the table, I'll go to the row, and you remember this method. We have used equal of index. I can access each and every row with the help of index. EQ of 0 will give me the first row. Yeah, EQ of 0, can you see now? It gives me the first row. Okay, either you can use this way or you can just say EQ of 0. And there is a method called within in Cypress. So go to the first row and within. Within means in that collection, we need to perform some check, right? Within that, side.get of TD. So that means it will take this entire row and in that it will take the TD. So that means this one, each and everything is a TD, right? So then I'm performing a each, right? Take each and every TD and take it in a variable and get the text of it and log it. This is another way. Either you can follow this way or you can use this way, right? Okay, so you can perform, you can tweak based on your requirement. So you see now I'm just checking any cell data, whether any cell data has this text called selenium. So I want to check in this first row whether there is a text called selenium. So if it is there, then I'm just saying print. Okay, selenium text is present. Right. So this is how you can access. This is still what we have seen in our static testing. Okay. So now you see there is a dynamic requirement going to come. What I want to do is, I'm just going to write a logic. Let's assume that this is a dynamic table and I'm just going to search for any book name. So for example, if the book name is Learn Java, right? I want to, let's say, click this, check this checkbox and I want to delete it, right? See, I have a delete button here. But if I click this, it will not delete anything. But the moment I click this, I will get a message something like this. Can you see it is a toggle? It will say deleted. Okay. So similarly, anywhere, see, I'm not specifically saying go to row number 2 and click this checkbox and click this delete button. Okay, I'm just checking with the condition. It can be anywhere. See, tomorrow if this learn Java comes in 4th row, this has to work. Right. So this is how you can handle a dynamic table. So how to do that? You see now, again, there are two different ways. I'm just getting each and every row. If you see here, the output. Fine. So now you see, I'm just getting the table row, taking each and every row. This is JavaScript way, right? And get each row. And what I'm doing, I'm just saying cy.wrap of row and within. So this is Cypress way of handling things. Okay. So take each and every row. Within that, get the TD and each column. I'm just getting the column. So that means I'm just going to this specific cell and I am just retrieving each and every value like this. This is what this is going to do. And once any cell values text, if it matches learn Java, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get whether there is any element with type checkbox. So there is one element with type checkbox, right? And I'm just going to click it. It will go and perform a click. So in this entire row, it will check whether there is a checkbox. If there is a checkbox, it will go and perform a click. And I'm just waiting for a while. And similarly, what I'm going to do, I'm just checking for a button. Right. So if there is a button found, I'm just going to click. It will go and click. In the same row, it will go and click. See, once if you get that row, you can perform any operation. So not only you are going to retrieve the text, you can also perform any operations on the cell. This is clear, right? So this is a kind of tedious way. So like based on the logic, whatever you have learned, you're going to implement. There is also an easy way how you can do it. So I'm just going to use this contains method. So you see now, I'm just going to check the entire table and I'm just going to say contain tr. That means any table row has this specific text. Just go to the row directly. So I'm not going to loop it something like this, right? Any table row which has this text. So let's assume that the text is unique. I'm just going to use the contains method. So if you find such a row, go within that specific row and implement this logic. Just check for the checkbox, check it, check for the button and click it. This is another way using contains method. You can either use this logic to work or you can use this logic. This is clear. Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. So this is how you can work with dynamic tables, which is very, very important when you work in web testing, how to work with dynamic tables. Right. Okay. Second. Okay. So somebody was asking me about, yeah, this dynamic dropdown. Okay, so this is called as jQuery dropdown. So I'll tell you what is the scenario. Say, for example, I go to this web page. I go to this web page. Okay, so this is one demo web page, and I have a text field. Okay, or whatever you say. Now, the moment I go and type something here, say for example, I'm just typing. The moment I start typing, can you see now it builds a dynamic list, right? See, something like a drop down. Okay, See, I may not be able to say this as a edit field or a drop down. It's a mix. This is what we call as a jQuery drop down, right? Or a Angular based drop down. Okay. Now at times what I want to do, the moment it starts building a list based on my search, I need to go to any specific item and I need to interact with that element. Okay. Now the problem here is it doesn't looks like a drop down. Say for example, if I go and inspect, suppose if I go and inspect this element, can you see here? Okay, it says li. Okay, it has multiple li's with all the options whatever I got. And now if I go to the parent, so this is what we call as the UI. Okay, now this UI, if I see here, okay, so you see the search box, it doesn't gives me, or it doesn't resembles like a drop down. If I click, can you see now? It gives an input box. Okay, it says input and there is some class and there is a name, all this, right? But when I type something, it behaves like a drop down. So this is a Angular based drop down, which doesn't behaves like a classical drop down. See, when you see a classical drop down will always have a select tag, and each and every option in it will be available in an option tag. So you can able to use whatever logic we learned on Friday, right? Only for a classical drop down. So this is what we call as a jQuery dropdown or Angular based dropdown. See, today's in most of the applications, you will find this kind of dropdowns, right? Even your Google search bar behaves like this. So the moment you start typing, you might have noticed. So it will dynamically build up a list and it will give you a big list. So that is dynamic. See, sometimes 3 rows comes, 4 rows comes, sometimes 10 rows comes, right? So how to work with it in Cypress? So if you see here, this is the logic that I have created. Okay, let me go to this test, drop down test 2. Okay, I'll open it in my test runner. Okay, let me run this. Okay, so I'll go to the site. I will type something like computer. Okay, it will build up a list and I will just click on one option there, build your own computer, and I want to click it. Can you see now? I have clicked it. That is why I got this screen. Right. So how to do that? Now, if I go to this element and if I see this element, okay. So this is that text box, what I'm typing there, and I am just typing a value called computer. So this is the selector. It has an ID called small search item. So I'm using the ID using hash and I'm just typing computer. Okay. So the moment I type something, it will take a while to build up that list. So I'm just introducing an additional delay of 2000 milliseconds. So then what I'm going to do, I have identified this selector for the dynamic list which got populated. So there is a link which has a tab index, and this tab index is common among all the items that I'm getting. So this will give me a collection. Okay. So from that collection, I'm going to use each method, right? So I'm just going to use each method, and each method has 3 properties. That is storing it in an element, the index, and the list of the collection, right? And if I simply say sci.log ele.text, this logic we have been using and you are very much familiar with this logic, it will print the dynamic text, right? See, suppose if I want to interact, suppose if I want to perform any Cypress operations, I want to interact with that element, then what you need to do? So I will write a condition something like this. So just check each and every element text, and if it matches with some text, what I want to do, I'm just wrapping it to this element and I am just clicking that object. Okay, it will automatically go to that element and it will click. And I'm just waiting for some time because I just want to see the screen, whether it have performed that click operation. So whether I could able to see this next screen, build your own computer. This is what I'm doing. This is also a very, very important requirement nowadays because 99% of the drop downs today, whatever you see in all the modern web apps, are based out of jQuery or Angular or React objects. So you will always get a dynamic drop down like this. So this is how you have to handle it. And this will work for any kind of drop downs where you don't have a select tag and an option tag. This logic can be applied for any kind of dynamic drop downs that way. Is this clear?
Yes.
Right. You want to try this? Just quickly, if you want, you can just try this. This is quite simple. Try to understand the concept. The concept looks simple, but the logic, what we have to define, so that comes by practice.
Maybe we'll try it later, Rami, because we may not be able to cover everything, right?
No, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
If you want to try, you can try. Not a problem. Okay. So I can able to cover up.
Okay.
Okay. If you are fine with it, I'm okay. Okay. Everyone agrees to that? Not a problem. Shall we move on?
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. So next, what we will do, we will talk about a very, very important concept, page object model. So what is page object model? So if you see, page object model is a design principle, or I would say it is a different type of coding framework which tells to keep the object locators and the methods or actions different from the test script. That means don't have everything in your test script. Right. Or otherwise, I would say it is a framework or a pattern or a style to have your test objects separately in a repository. See, there are many tools which provides a separate repository to have or to manage your objects or the elements, whatever you refer in your web application. Right. I'll show you a simple example. Okay. Using, I'll take this test. Okay, so this is a very simple test which we have seen already. Right. Okay, so I've created one test case. I want to go to this application. So wherein like I want to type some value to this element and I want to select the plus operator, then give the next value, click. So what this will do, so this will perform some addition in that application. So quickly, if I run this, okay, I'll just go to that test, the spec. Okay, login linear. So this is the linear approach which we have been working so far from day one. Okay, so now you see this test is working. Okay, so page object model mainly talks about separating your object information from your test script. Right. So how to do that? So this is one example where we have not implemented page object model, and whatever examples we have seen so far applies to this linear approach of writing our test scripts where we have everything here. So we will not go anywhere outside of this. Right. So when we want to implement page object model, there are different levels of implementing page object model in Cypress. Okay, so I'll talk about all that. The very first requirement, what you need to do is you have to go to this folder structure. Okay, so you have to go to this Cypress folder. Okay, so in this Cypress folder, we have to create a new folder called pages. If you see, I'll show you somewhere. I have created a folder. Yeah, hope you can able to see. There is a folder called pages. Great. So in this pages, what I have done is I have created one JS file. Okay. So you see this JS file. I have created one JS file. If I go to this JS file, you see now it is a class file that I have created. Okay. So I will simply say class. See, this is how in JavaScript you can create a class. Class name. So I am just saying addition page. So I want to add two numbers. So I'm just saying this is a page which is used to add. Right. So here what I will do, I will create various methods like navigate, type the first number, select the plus operator. Because if you see in our the previous code, right? So I'll open up the previous code. 1 second. Yeah. If you see here, so this is typically navigating to the website, right? And this logic is to enter the first number. So this logic is to select the operator plus. This statement is used to interact with the second number. So this will click a button, right? So now what I'm going to do for each and every step, I'm going to create one method. You see now navigate, type first number, all this. And simply copy paste each and every statement here. Right. See, whatever is there in the linear code, you just copy paste here. Now, what I am going to do is this class, I need to say as export. That means I will import this class in some other test. So I want to make this class as reusable. So I need to use a keyword called export. Export class this. That means this will be now available for any test. Hope you're getting. Now what I'm going to do in my test case. So you see now I'm going to create my first test case. This is the page object model type 1. Here if you see what I will do, I will import this class using an import statement. Import addition page 1 from which location? This is the location. So I will tell from this location import this class. And I'm just going to create an object because if I want to access the methods of that class from a different file, I need to have object. Only using object, I can able to access those methods. So this is how you can create an object in JavaScript. Let a variable equal to new. Using the new keyword of class, I can create an object. So using this variable, I can access those methods. Can you see now? Addition page dot navigate, addition page dot type first number, all this. Now, if I run this logic, see here what I have done, I have separated the entire logic in a different file called pages. In that pages, I will talk only about addition. Suppose tomorrow there is another operation which I need to do on a different page. I will create a different page class. And I will access that page class by creating an object, something like this. Okay, so I'm not putting everything in a single file. So I'm managing each and every page by creating a separate page class. So now this will also work. Say for example, if now I go and run this specific test, if I go here and go to page object model, login test form 1. If I run this, you see now this will also do the same thing, but we are accessing via page class. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So now if you see here, the code looks so clean and easy. Okay. And one more very important thing what you need to do is, see, the main problem in linear approaches, see, this is also fine. See, now if you look at creating the framework, this looks very simple. Hey, why I need to create multiple files, then take the data from there? Why I need to do that? I can have it in the same script only, right? So why I need to first of all go for page object model? Yeah, I know creating separate functions and using that functions will ensure reusability and it will have better readability. All that is fine. But creating this will take some time, right? So it is very sensitive. I need to export it, import it properly. All that problems are there, right? But why I need to go for this page object model is very simple. Say, for example, so here we just have only 5 statements. See, suppose if this object or if this statement is getting referred in some 100 places in my test. See, here I have a very simple test case. Suppose if the same statement is getting referred in say 100 test cases, and tomorrow my development team have changed the selector. So they have changed the selector and now they are giving me a different build. So none of these statements will now work. So I am forced to go and change the selector in all the statements wherever I have referred in that many number of test cases. Right. So which is a major headache for me. So that is the main reason why we go for page object model. See, suppose if I follow this pattern, having a separate page, okay, then directly what I can do, I can go here and change the selector in one place. All my test which refers this function will now work. Right. So changes are easily manageable by modifying in a single method. So we can confirm that page object model saves plenty of time, right? And ensures modularity, reusability of code, everything. So this is the main reason why we need to go with page object model. Hope you are clear. So you can able to set up this. Any questions before we move on to the next model? Yes, no. You good?
Rami, in this method also, when there is a change in the selector item or locator, we have to again go and change it, right? In
Yeah,
all
one
these
time,
pages.
one time in this page. See, if
Mm-hmm.
you change, say for example, tomorrow your developer is making some change, like ng model is equal to third.
Mm.
So I don't want to go and change everywhere. Just come to this pages file, just refer this object, change here. Wherever, in whichever class test cases you have called this method, it will automatically change.
Okay. Okay. Can you show me the test case or any sample where you have used this type first number? Here. Okay. Mm.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Right. So I am just calling all these methods. Say for example, in another test case, I am calling the same one. Addition page dot type first number. It will automatically get changed there. Right. I don't want to go and change in each and every file. So that is the major advantage of page object model. But in this model, we are still hard coding the values. See, suppose if I go to the page file. So if you see, we are still hard coding the values like the app URL. Can you see now? The app URL or the input values, what we are giving, this 2 plus 2. Okay, all this in this addition page. So we are hard coding. See, hard coding anything is not a good practice or nor the efficient way of defining page object model. See, why we come to page object model is mainly to ensure reusability. So we need to minimize in such a way that we are eliminating this hard-coded approach. So to remove all this, I go to model 2 of page object model. So that is much more a better version of model 1. Now you see this page 5. You see now. Now you see in each and every method, I'm not hard coding anything. So I'm just passing some argument, navigate URL, cy.visit URL. See, tomorrow the URL changes. Still this navigate method I can use. It can invoke any kind of URL by just passing an argument here. You see now, each and every method, now I'm adding an argument here. See, I'm not hard coding anything. So this values will come from my test case, which is going to call this method. You're getting what I'm saying? So how to call this? You see this test case. So I have created another test case where I am just going to call this class, page class, and I'm going to invoke all this method with some arguments. Is it clear? You're getting this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, in this one, maybe if you go to the other page code. So here we are expecting a number, right? And if I pass any character alphabets or something,
so that
then how?
validation we have to do it. That validation we have to take care, right? See, here I am not doing anything. I'm just writing one line of code.
That we cannot restrict, right? Can we restrict here?
So you have to do it. Say, for example, you are saying as number, and if you are sending a string value, then probably this method will not get called. So that basic JavaScript validations you need to take care in the script. So you need to handle it via exceptions. Or otherwise have different name for these methods and pass on different arguments. Right. So that way we can handle it.
Okay.
Got it. So now this is much more reusable and it ensures modularity when you compare with page object model 1. See, the first one is linear approach. I'm not using any POM structure. The second one is I'm making things reusable by having multiple methods. And those methods will be used only once. But these methods can be used any number of times with any number of arguments. I can reuse the same method again and again with different arguments. See, tomorrow I need to pass 20. I can invoke the same method by just changing the argument. Hope you're getting what I'm saying. But in the first page object model, I may not be able to do it. So if you look at the first page object model, right? So if I call this method, it will always go and type only 2. Right. So that is the reason what I'm going to do. I'm changing the structure in such a way that those methods what we have defined should also be reusable. So that is why I'm introducing the concept of arguments over here. Right? You're getting this approach. Only if you practice. You can take any example or like any script, whatever we have created so far, and try to convert it into all the page object models what we are referring to. Then only you will get to understand the concepts. Right. Is this clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
Right. Now, what is the problem in this model?
Selector is hard coded.
Yes. We are hard coding the selector. And if you look at again the same statement, we are having the methods and the selector in the same statement. This what we are going to do is we are going to separate in the next POM framework, that is page object model 3. You look at this class file. So in this class file, I'm creating a repository of objects and creating a repository of actions. You see now. This is the next class, addition page 3. So here I'm just separating the objects. See what are all objects that I will use in the specific page. I'm just going to define everything. You see now? NG model first. I'm just giving a name first number. The operator element is this. This is the class. And the second number, the selector is this. And the go button selector is this. See, I'm just going to separate it. Objects as well as the actions. Now you see now, in the action part, I'm just calling the same method. See, there is no change in the navigate method, but look at this method. Type first number of number. See, the number will come from my test case. What number I want to type, right? And to refer the selector, I'm just going to use this operator. This means from this current file, you refer this locator. Okay, now automatically this will get implemented here. Dot type whichever number comes from my test case, it will type. Is this clear? I'm not hard coding anything in this method. See, tomorrow if there is a change, say for example, if the same first number I'm referring in another method, but I want to type some other value, and if this number selector is getting changed, so I don't want to again go and make the change. I can simply come here and make this change in one location. It will affect in all the methods where I have referred that selector. This is the best approach of page object model. Generally in projects, or like if your client is preferring you to go with page object model, you are supposed to use form 3, what I am referring currently. Still, you can tweak this. You don't want to have this in the same file. You can create a separate dictionary, or you can have this in a separate file, refer this, right? So always you need to have your objects and actions in a separate file. Sorry, not separate. At least you need to keep it separated in the same file, something like this. Now this will also work if you look at the page model here. So there is no change in my test case. I'm just invoking this addition page 3 class, and I'm just typing the numbers. See, now if I run this, I will run this code. So this will also do the same thing. So suppose if I open the spec, form 3, this will also do the same thing, right? But this is the best approach of page object model framework design, where I have separated my operators as well as actions in POM framework. You can refer. Is this clear?
Yes, Rami, if we have to separate the objects also into another file, how do we do?
You cannot separate this object in a separate file, because page object model, for one page, you need to have everything. Maybe what you can do is you can have this alone in a normal text file, and you can refer that here if you want. But this is the best approach. That doesn't have any impact. See, if you have, because one page information, so because it is very important for you also to refer. See, tomorrow you are working with login page or like register page or like any other page. If you want to refer, you need to go to that page class and you need to see what are the objects that are there in this specific page. What are the actions that are there in this specific page? See, there is no point having this in a separate file. Okay, so that makes your framework much more, even more complex for you to again troubleshoot. Tomorrow, if there is some problem, then you need to use the file read concept to go to that specific file, check that specific file, and then you need to ensure that whether that file is readable here. So don't get into that sort of complexity. You always, for one page, you have one file. Okay, and separate something like this. As I told you, the objects and actions. That's it. Similarly, if you're working for another page called register page, create a page class like this. Now you see, I have named it as addition test. See, tomorrow, if you're performing subtraction and you're referring altogether different objects, then you create a separate page class for it and have the objects and actions in that file.
Okay, and in a single test case, I will be able to call, if suppose I have 3 pages and I am creating a workflow, so I need to go through all the pages in one particular test
That
case. So
logic
I
you have
will
to
be
write
able
there
to
only. Yeah. Right.
that I will be able to still do without any issues, right?
You import all the 3 classes here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, create 3 objects.
Mm.
Have 3 test cases. You can refer
Mm.
all the class in this test case.
Okay. Understood. Yeah. Thank
You got it now?
Yes, yes.
This is JavaScript concept. See, you create test case. Say, for example, login 1, login 2, login 3. You import all the 3 classes here, separate objects, you call the separate methods, how you want to. You can tweak your logic as the way how you want. But the framework designed for each and every page, ensuring reusability that you have defined here. These are the levels of reusability, I'm saying. There are 3 levels. Okay. And the best level is page 3, what I showed you here. Right? Any questions? Anyone? Let me take a pause. Anybody? All good. Arun, Bhavya, Alvin, all fine. Dilip, Bhavya, Ebenezer, Harshita.
Yes, Remy.
Oh, fine. Great. So next, what we will do, we will move on to something. Okay, yeah. So I'll talk about this hooks. So this is something which is important. Okay. So hooks is a concept. What you can do is, so you can create again a kind of a modular test script where you can manage your reusable components. See, certain statements you want to re-execute again and again, right? Say, for example, if you see here, so this is one test case where if you see the loading the web page, entering the username, password, all that. Say, for example, let me go to this web page. Okay, I'll tell you what exactly I'm going to do. Okay, so I want to give a username. So let's say this is the user and this is the password. Okay, I want to log in. See, after login, I want to perform something. Say, for example, I want to buy this product. Okay, see, some product is here, or otherwise I want to perform some operation. I want to just check this link is available. Okay, this is my task. Okay, I want to just check whether this link has something, or like I want to add this product to the cart and I want to purchase this. And what I will do, I will log out. After logging out, again, I need to check a functionality in such a way that again, I need to log in, go to the next item. Okay, and purchase this product or perform some operation on this element, then log out. Right. So now interacting between these 2 elements, what I'm doing, I'm performing login and logout 2 times. Okay, see, suppose if I write 2 test cases, I don't want to have this login and logout every now and then. I don't want to copy paste the same logic again and again. So what I can do is, you see now, I can differentiate this. It is a block using which you can write a test case. Right? You can create as many number of it blocks you want. Sometimes before performing any test case, so you want to have some prerequisites defined. That means you look at this before each. See, there is a method called before each. So this before each, whatever logic you are going to write, what this will do is this will execute before every test case. See, if you look at here, there are two test cases here. Okay, before executing every test case in this suite, if you see here, this is in a test suite. I have used the describe block. I have multiple methods inside this. So that means I have two test cases. So before these two test cases, what I need to do, I need to go to this web page. I need to enter the username. I need to enter the password, click the login. See, I need to complete this login part. Then only I will go to this test case, click Sauce Lab Backpack. So that is the first link. Okay. See, I want to perform some click operation or whatever you want, you can do. See here in this case, I just click something. Okay. And similarly, the second test case, go to another element and perform some operation. So here also I'm just clicking. So before this two test cases, I want to log in. I want to have it ready. See, I don't want to have this code in every test case again and again. So what I can do, I can create a before each method. So before executing each and every test case, this logic will automatically run. Right. And similarly, after executing a test case, if you have some post-requisite steps, which has to get executed after executing every test case, you can put it under after each block, something like this. You can create an after each and say function, or otherwise you can use this square bracket arrow symbol and write the logic over there. Right. So there is also a hook called before and after. So this, whatever you write here, this will execute at the beginning one time, and after function will execute at the end one time. Okay. See, as of now, I have not written anything. I am just printing something like start of the test and end of the test. So this two will come only once at the beginning and at the end. So I have two test cases. So before this test case, this logic will get executed once. And before this test case, this logic will get executed once. And similarly, for this test case also, both will run once. Right. So if you want to modularize and if based on your requirement, if you want to write or if you want to have your logic separated, right? And certain things at times you don't want to always test. See, opening the URL and all, you don't want to test, or checking the internet connection, you don't want to check. So there will be some prerequisite and post-requisite always in your workflow that you need to define. So you can use hooks concept. Is it clear? Yes, no?
For this before each or before, can I go back?
1 second. I'll just execute this hook.
Okay.
You will get to understand. See, I'm just executing this test. So can you see now? There are two test cases that is getting executed. Okay. Right. So the first test case got executed, and second test case is getting executed now. Right. See, now if I go to the, this is the first test case. Click Source Lab Backpack and click Add to Cart. Okay, Add to Cart. Yeah, this is the name I have. So there are two test cases. So if I go here, the first one is before all. So that means before all the test cases, I have a start of the test, then before each. So you see now, before each will come before each test case. So this logic will get executed and then the test body comes. Okay, so whatever I need to execute, this is the body of my test case, and then after each comes. Now, automatically it goes to click add to the card. And now you see that before logic doesn't comes, before each only comes. Can you see now? That means when this test case is getting executed, before each logic will execute, before each comes before every test case. So again, it will open Source Lab, enter username, password, all this blah, blah things. Then it will execute the second test case. That means going and clicking that Source Lab, whatever, that logic, then after each. So once these two test cases got executed, then finally, after all, end of the test will come. sphere.
Rami, this before each function or after each, all these things you have defined along with the test case, right?
No,
In a
test case
single.
is different. This is
Uh,
test case. This is test case.
yes, yes, it's in the same file, right? But I have multiple cases. No,
Sorry,
this
sorry.
is hook. No, this is hook.cy.js, and in this one you have mentioned before each, before function, all those things. And if I have to keep that separately, and in other test cases like login test or somewhere, right?
Use
Yeah,
page
if I have
object model concept.
okay, so I have to import the hooks cy.js there and use the function, right?
That is also fine.
Mm.
But better than that, use page object model if you're doing that way.
Mm.
Don't use hooks concept.
Okay, hook and this one is both are different.
Hook is different, page object model is different. See, here I am just
Okay.
still using the linear approach. See, in hook only, what you can do, you can implement POM.
Okay.
So you're getting now. See, I'm hard coding all this.
This is
See, I don't want to confuse implementing page object model and hooks together, but that you can do.
In the page object model also, if I have to call the before each function, I will define that as a another
Import
page,
the
right?
class. Import the class.
Import the class. Okay. Okay. Got it. No, but I think I'm not fully clear. No, because before
You
each
tell me your
function.
requirement, I will tell you what exactly.
Okay, so I am going with the POM3 model. And I have this login test one, login test workflow 1.pom3, then login test workflow 2.pom3, like that. I have multiple files where I have kept my test cases separately for the different workflows as well. Okay,
but that
then
login is going to get changed every time. So what is the flow that you want? How many times you're going to execute login?
Yes, login is going to be the same in all the three workflows, but in workflow I will be going in a different methods from the. I have multiple screens, so I will click on different screens to navigate that particular workflow. In the second file, I will be using different characteristics within the same
Then you cannot use hooks
URL.
concept, no? Then you cannot use hooks.
But I
Because
still
what
want
you are
to
saying is in
log
each and
into.
every script, the way like how you log in is different, is what you are saying.
No, login is same, but action is different. So here also I want to log into the same URL for all the test cases. So what should I do?
You can have the same thing in before each in the same file, right? Where before, like how many ever test cases you are going to have in your test suite. Okay. If the login is same, have the before each function in the same file. See, why you want to always
Same
think of
file.
having it in a separate file.
Okay.
So
Okay,
you're
got
getting
it.
what
So
I'm
I
saying.
have yes. I have to
See,
keep
one
this in the workflow one.
is one logic. Okay. So that workflow, what you are saying, that will be in one single file, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then have the before each function in the same file.
The same file. But the same login only I am going to use in the second workflow as well.
No problem. That is what we have done, right? This is going to get executed for all the test cases, but I have created this file only once. That is hooks concept.
I'm still not clear, I think. But you said
this
not to mix
logic I
hooks
have
and
created only once.
Once, yes.
Okay. But I want to use this logic 10 times in 10 test cases, whatever I am going to create.
Okay.
Okay. I can use hooks concept. See, I'm not writing this 5 lines of code in all the test cases before I go and interact with this element. Right. So that is the concept of hooks. I can have it before each method, because if you have this before each in some other file, it will not execute before this test case. Okay.
Okay.
You're getting
Okay.
hooks concept, whatever like the methods that you're going to use, that has to be in the same test suite. You see now,
Okay.
this is the test suite. In this test suite, only this will work. I cannot have this before method in some other file and call that here.
Okay, understood.
Got it? Huh?
Yes, got it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone? All good? People are silent.
Fine.
Okay. So you want a short break because we are seeing for a long time? 5 minutes break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We'll take a 5 minutes break. We'll come back and we will see the next concept.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Okay, so shall we start?
Yes, Ravi.
Right. So, so far, whatever like the test cases or the concepts, what we have seen and what we have executed. Okay, so we saw the results in the Cypress test run, right? So, is there a way in Cypress to create any kind of reports? See, there are plenty of libraries so that are available using which you can create many reports. But a very popular report that is used from the beginning, which generally client appreciates, is called as Mocha Awesome report. There is a report called Mocha Awesome report. Uh, so you have to do some configurations because this is also an external plugin that you need to install. Right. I'll just share my screen. Just let me know if you can able to see my screen. Is my screen visible? Yes, no? Just share again. Just give me a second. Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, Ravi.
Yeah. Okay. So the report what I'm talking about is called as Mocha Awesome report. Okay, so this is a very popular report which can be integrated in Cypress. So there are some configurations that you need to do. So the first step is you have to install this reporter plugin. So you have to install this Mocha some reporter. Okay, so for that, what you have to do is you have to install a plugin using this command npm install, or like the shortcut for install is you can also say npm I and hyphen save hyphen dev Cypress hyphen mocha awesome hyphen reporter. Okay, so this is the command which is mainly used to install. So what you have to do is, so generally go to your project, whichever project you are referring. Okay, so this is the project. You can just go to the terminal. One second. Okay, so hope you can see my screen now. Okay, so just open your terminal and you can just type the command, whatever I said. So this one, npm I save dev Cypress mocha awesome reporter. So you can just type hit install, hit enter, it'll install in 2 minutes. Right, say I have already installed. So this is step number 1. Step number 2, what you have to do is There are some configurations that you need to do. You have to edit your Cypress configuration file. So that is, if you look at in your project structure, you will find a file called Cypress config.js. Right? If you look at here, this file, Cypress config.js. So here, you see now you have to add few things. Right. So one is like you need to tell this one. After you install, you have to just go to this module exports folder. You can able to see this folder now. And one more very important thing that I wanted to tell you is the Cypress older version and the Cypress, the latest version, has plenty of differences. So if you are using a Cypress version 10 and below, that will altogether have a different folder structure. Suppose if you have recently installed Cypress from where we started our training or just 1 month before, Cypress has altogether a different folder structure. And whatever earlier it was supporting, now either it is not supporting or otherwise they have removed that support currently. And they have implemented new ways of doing things. Okay, so this is one problem with any open source automation framework. So what I'm saying is, as of now, the latest version of Cypress, what we are using today, this is how you can configure your Mocha Awesome reporter, right? You will find, I believe you also have the similar cypress.config.js. If you use the older versions, you will find a file called cypress.json, right? So now we don't have that file. We have one file called cypress.config.js. So in this file, the very first thing what we need to add is this statement. The reporter is Cypress Mocha Awesome reporter. That means this is the reporter that we are going to use, right? And one more statement that you need to add is go to your E2E folder. This by default you will have. You need to add this in your setup node events. We need to say that this is the plugin which we are going to enable. That means by default, whenever I run my test, I need to get this reporter, is what I am saying. Right. So this is step number 2 that you need to add. Okay. So this I will tell what is this part. Okay. So this step number 4 and step number 17. These two are very important. Right. The next step is you have to go to next is okay. You have to go to Cypress and there will be a folder called support. You can able to find here support. By default, inside support folder, you will find two folders, command.js and e2e.js. Okay, so you have to go to this e2e.js and you have to add one import. See, by default, you will find this import. Okay, so you need to also import this one, Cypress Mocha Awesome reporter / register. Okay, so maybe you can just refer my contents with the help of the video, what is getting captured today, and you can try. So these are all steps that you need to do. So step 1 is typically you have to install this plugin. Step 2 is make the changes in the config file. Step 3 is come to this support file e2e.js and import this reporter module. Right? And suppose if I want a more specific custom commands, then what I can do is I can add this configurations also. This options. Okay. See, as of now, okay. These are all the options. See, if I want a chart to be displayed in my report, I can have this chart true. And if I want to have a report page title, something like this, a customized report. Okay, or specifically my project has some specific title which using which I want to create a report, or otherwise I want to categorize the report based on the functionalities or based on the workflows that we are working. So you can add this. And one more very important thing is, whenever you create your reports, automatically Cypress will take screenshots, videos, everything. Okay, so that is why this report is very popular. And these are all the custom changes. If you want to make in the report, you can add this section. Okay, fine. Now, right. So these are all the configurations. So that is required. So now let me take any one test and try to create a report. Okay, I'll go to my E2E folder. I will take any test. Let's take this basic test. Okay, let me take this test. So the one which we created initially when we started. Okay, so this was my test case. And one more very important thing, when you want to create a mockup some report, always run via the command line, the CLI mode, not via the Cypress runner. Okay, so what I can do is I can either run via terminal, okay, or otherwise I can run via my command prompt. So what I will do, I will open my command prompt. Okay, so this I have not shown. I will show that also. Okay, whatever commands you are executing via your terminal, you can run via command prompt. So I will open my command prompt. Okay, it is in C colon. Let me move it to E drive. I will say this one. Okay, so this is the folder where I need to go. I will say CD. This folder. Okay, one second. CD. Yeah. Okay, so I want to change my directory to this location. So now if I see, this is the location, my project is currently residing. So now from here, what I need to do, I need to execute this project. I will say, so this is the location. So you remember this in project one, I have to go to the node modules folder, node underscore modules folder. In node modules folder, I need to go to the bin folder, which is the hidden folder. So that is why I'm saying .bin. Then I have to say Cypress run. I want to say Cypress run. Then I want to say which file I want to run. I will say -spec. Then I need to tell where is the file. So the file is in my project under, let me check, my project under Cypress. I have to go to the Cypress folder. Inside Cypress, I need to go to the E2E folder, end-to-end testing folder, and I need to tell which file I need to execute. test1.cy.js. test1.cy.js. Okay, so now okay, so this is the file that we need to execute. Right. Okay, now let me hit enter. This will create a report. Actually, it will start executing this. Okay, so I can able to see it by default runs in Electron browser, and it creates a HTML file, all that. Cypress reports. Okay, it is executing the test. Let us wait. Okay, so it says passing and the report is created. Okay, done. So now you see, now it says it have created the report. If I go up, I can able to see this test is passed and the mocha of some report is saved inside my same folder under a folder called reports. So we can able to see in HTML, we can able to see all the files over there. And it have also created a video output with whatever we have created. It have also created a MP4 file and it have processed the report and I can able to see the reports. So it says HTML report successfully created. Okay. Now, if I want to see the report, it is in this location. So it is also mentioning go to this location and refer this file. Okay. So now let me come to my project folder and I'll see now the file. 1 second. Yeah, I can now see the folder called reports. If I go inside this reports, I can able to see this file called index.html. So suppose if I right click, copy the path and come to a new browser and paste it and hit enter. Can you see now? It creates a neat report. It says pass and this is the project name and you can able to see the title over here, Remy Cypress report, right? And how much time it have taken and how many conditions got passed, failed, all that you can able to see. This is the chart. Can you able to see? This is the chart you remember we have created the custom options. This is the chart. And if I click this, it will show me all the test cases, the test logic, what we have created, and it will also show you the video recording, right? Can you see the video recording, how the test generally will run in a test runner, it will show you. So you see now by default, it looks great, right? We don't want to do anything. Okay, so it will give me a complete video recording of how it runs in your Cypress test runner. Right? So you can able to see the video. Okay, now one more thing, if you see, there are no screenshots, nothing. Okay, so the snapshots and all will come only if your test case fails. Okay, now what we will do is, we will make this test case deliberately to fail. Okay, you can able to see additionally the screenshot where it failed, all that you can able to see in this mocha of some report. So for that, what I will do, I will come here and deliberately I'll make the test case to fail. What I will do, I will introduce some wrong selector. Okay, so this is the selector that we know. I have introduced some mistake now. Now let me save this test and try to run again this via command prompt. I'll go here. I'll execute the test via command prompt. Let me run this. Now again it is starting. Let us wait. Okay, now it is saying it got failed and it have created the screenshots and it is creating the video and finally I'm just getting the message. Okay, so let me again go to the same HTML report. It would have overwritten my report. Let me come here and let me refresh this file. Now if I refresh this, I can able to see a failed test case. It says there is an assertion error, timeout retrying after 4000 milliseconds. This element is not found. If I click this, now you can able to see it will give me a screenshot as well. Can you see now? Failed screenshot. It will give me a screenshot also. Okay. So where it got failed, what is the element and which element it is failing, all that it will give me. So in Selenium, this is so tough. You need to create something called extend report. So you have to integrate with a lot of things like testng. You need to understand many classes like iTestListener. There is a separate logic, how to write a pass test case, fail test case. Here, nothing. Everything will be taken care by your plugin. It is very easy, and this report is so popular when you work with Cypress. Right? This is clear. Okay. And one more thing is also there. What you can also do, let me make this test case to pass. I will change my selector. And you can also add some custom text to your report, something like this through your logic. Okay, can you see now? So I'm just writing a custom text, something like CUI.add test context, and whatever I want to write in my report, I can give. So I can simply say this test report was created by Remy. Okay, so let me save this test and rerun this test again. Let me go to my command prompt and rerun this test. I can able to see that message coming in my custom report. Okay, so the test case is passing. Okay, see, for pass test, you will not get any screenshots. Only for fail test, you will get screenshots. Okay, so it got executed. Let me come back to my report and refresh it. Now, if I refresh, it's passing. Now, if I open here, okay, can you see now the additional test context? So you can able to see this test report, whatever the custom text we want to add, it will come in the report. So this is all about Mocha Awesome report. So I hope you are clear now, and you can also able to create such good reports. All good, able to follow. Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay.
So Ravi, is there any provision to add some custom message for each step? Currently, those logs are coming the default messages only, right?
That you can do it in your test case only, not at the report level.
Okay, for each for each step, we need to add some custom step.
So simply say CUI.log, whatever that variable you manipulate here. Pass. You can also pass a variable value here, a dynamic content.
Yeah.
That also we can do. Right. Okay. So next, what we will do, we will talk about file handling. Okay, I have a file. Right. How to work with files in Cypress. Okay. So first, what we will do, we will talk about how to write in a file. Okay, so simple file. See, you can always, once if you get the concept, so you can always extend or like tweak as per your requirements. That's it. Okay, I'll give you the base skeleton, so you take it from there. Okay, so next is like how to work with files. I have multiple test cases. I'll just go one by one. Okay, and as of now, skip everything. Right. Okay. So now my first requirement is I need to write something to a file. Okay. So I will create a test case, and where I want to write the file, I want to mention the file. So if you look at in my case, I have created one file, the sample.txt here. Right. So since the test case as well as the file what we are referring is in the same location, so I have not specified the path. So if you have this file in altogether a different location from that of your test case where you are referring, so you need to give the complete path. Okay, so whatever I want to write, I can simply type something like this. This text was written via Cypress. Okay, this is the text that I want to write. Okay, let me comment all this. I'll go one by one. So let's save this and let us run this file. This one. Okay, I will just open the spec. Right. Okay, so I'm writing the file. So it got executed and it is saying you have returned to this file. So now if I come here to my test and go to the sample.txt, I can able to see the text coming over here. Right. So as simple as this is how you can write something to a file via Cypress. Okay, so let me go back to my test. And now what I want to do is, okay, I want to write altogether one more command. So what I will do, I will simply put this. Okay, this I will tell what is this. Okay. Now you see, I want to write one more line. So let's say hello. Okay, in the same file. Now suppose if I save this and rerun this test. Okay, it have returned to the file, and if I go here, it says, okay, both the statements are working fine. Now, if I go back to my file and check, you see now, only the second line what we have created to write to a file is getting executed. So that means it is overwriting. Okay, so if you look at the logic here, so if you write multiple write file statements, it will overwrite. Okay, so this value is getting overwritten by this. So suppose if you want to append, what you have to do is you have to write something like this. Okay, you have to introduce a flag. Okay, and a plus. So this is mainly for appending. Okay, if you want to append to the existing file, so you have to define a flag. Okay, a flag is a keyword. You have to use the same variable flag, and a plus is the symbol. Okay, so let me run this now and see what happens. Let me refresh it. Okay, it got executed. Let me go to my actual file and see here. Can you see now? It got appended. Since I have used /n, it is writing line by line. Right. Good. Quite simple and straightforward, right? Okay. So now, not only a text file, so I can work with other file structures also, but I need to know the structure. Say, for example, you see now, I create another JSON file, right? And if I want to write to that JSON file, I can write, say, for example, sample1.json. So this is the file. And inside this, as you are aware, when we talk about a JSON file, so it will always have key and value pairs, right? So if you see here, a key and a value pair is always explicitly defined with a curly braces, where I have a key and a value. This is one pair. And similarly, the next pair. Right. So let me check this, whether this is working. Let me save this and rerun my test. Rerun my test. So I go to the right file. So it have written in the sample JSON. Let me go to the JSON file and open the JSON file. So I can able to see. And very importantly, you see here, I don't want to modify or I don't want to beautify the structure. It gives me a proper JSON file, right, in Cypress. So these are all are something which is very, very important. See, sometimes you want to store your results back to a JSON file. You may be wondering where we will use files, right? See, sometimes your customer will give the data which you want to use in a file. So you should know how to read it, or sometimes you want to write the dynamic results back to a file, or like you need to create a JSON structure, which mainly you will use in API testing. Okay, this kind of structures. So you should be familiar creating JSON files dynamically. So that is where this concept I thought it will be really useful for you. Right. Okay. Now you see this. See, there is a catch here. Suppose you see this line. Now, similarly, I want to add one more attribute. Let's say I want to add something like salary to this guy, right? I know if I want to append, I want to use this flag, something like this. The same concept I have used, right? How we appended to a text file. Now let me run this and see what happens. Whether it is appending. I will just, okay, save it. I'll save it, come here and append this file. Sorry, execute my test case. Okay, everything is working fine. I can able to see. Okay, this statements got executed. There is no trouble over here. Let me go and see the output. When I see the output, you see here what happens. It is getting appended, but as like a new JSON structure. It is not appending in the same JSON structure. Okay, so it altogether creates a new structure. So now there is a challenge, like how to add this salary inside the same structure. Okay, so that we have to use a different approach. This approach will not work for JSON files. We cannot use this. This will create a new structure. Right. So let me comment. I'll show you how to do this later. Till now, is it clear? You're getting how to write?
Yes.
Right. Let me skip this. I don't want this as of now. Okay. So let me move on to next, read file. Let me come to this test case. Okay, so if I want to read a file, same way like how we used a method called write file, we can use read file. And which file you want to read, you can give the location of that file, and you can just enclose the JavaScript command. Okay, so from this file, then value, and simply say UI.log value. So this will retrieve the complete file, and you can able to see that content in log, in our test log. Right. So similarly, if you want to read the JSON file content, you see now, you cannot use the same approach. You have to just get the value. And if you want to manipulate it with the keys, you can simply say value dot key. Right. This is clear what we are doing. Similarly, if you're working with arrays, you should know how to work with arrays in JavaScript, and accordingly you need to say, you have to give the value with index, right? So this concept, what you're typing here is complete JavaScript. So now let me run this and see whether I could able to read these files. Let me come here, refresh it. Oh, okay, there is some error. Non-white space character. Okay, there is some syntax issue. Something happened. I think there is some problem in this. Yeah, this file. Okay, sample.json. This be added, right? Okay, this is the problem. It is not a proper JSON, is what it is telling. Okay, now let me refresh this. Yeah, now it is working. Can you see? If I see here, it is printing the text file logs and it is printing John and 25. Perfect. Yeah. So this is all working. So now we will see what is the solution for this. So how do I append a new record in the JSON file? So for that, what you have to do, you have to altogether use a different logic. This one. So you have to read and then you need to manipulate it and you have to write it. You see now. Okay, so I will simply say okay. Now I'm just reading this JSON file. then just getting that value. This is a collection, right? It will have multiple key value pairs. I'm just getting the collection. So getting each and every value, and I'm just printing all the values. Now you see, I'm just adding a new attribute using this variable. Value.salary is 20,000 something. Then I am using a write file option. Where to write? I need to write in this JSON file as a string. Okay, so I need to convert it to a string. So for that, we have a method called json.stringify. Stringify is a method which will convert to a flat string and type the value. So that means this value will now get appended to this JSON. Now, if I run this, you can able to see a proper JSON structure which got appended. Right. So it got appended. Let me go here and check the file. You see now, it gives me a proper JSON stringify format, but still this is in the JSON structure. This will work. If you try to read it, this will work. Is this clear? Yes, no.
Yes, suppose if we have a complex JSON file which we want to read, how do we do that?
It's altogether a different study actually.
Mhm.
You need to know more about APIs.
Mhm.
Okay, so if I want to talk about complex JSON file, I can talk for 2 days. So
Okay.
complex JSON, it's altogether a separate study. Okay, so if you have a core requirement into API testing, we can look into that separately. Okay, I'll talk about API testing also next. But again, when we talk about a JSON structure, it will have two basic representations. One is an object and an array. That means you should know how to handle key value pairs and you should know how to handle arrays. If you know this, you can handle any complex JSON structure, because apart from this two representation, any JSON if you take, you can look into any complex JSON. It will have only these two representations. One is this. This refers an object. Okay, you can handle it with key and value pair. And the other one is this representation. This is nothing but an array. Or I would say this is a list, which can be handled with array concepts. Any JSON, any complex JSON, if you take, other than these two representations, you will not find any other representation. This only will be nested. You can find an object inside an array inside an object. This is how a complex JSON is structured. Other than this two, you will not have any other representations. If you know how to manipulate these two elements, you can handle any type of complex JSON structure. Okay, so this all I will talk in API testing. Okay, so when the study is all about API testing, we will cover everything in detail. How to work with complex JSON, how to read that JSON using Cypress, how to pick each and every value and test. All that we will talk. But API testing is altogether an ocean. It's a different study. Okay, so I will tell you what is API testing and how to basically perform simple CRUD operations, like how to make a GET request, how to make a POST request. That I will talk today. Right? You're getting?
Yes.
Great. Any questions as of now? Yes, no. All good. The others are silent here. Hope it's not a bouncer. You can able to get what we are doing. So these are all simple concepts. So the only thing, like, just follow the video and practice everything. You will get to understand, and accordingly, based on your requirement, you can tweak the logic. That's it. Okay. Next, what we will do, we will see one more concept and we will have a short break. Next is custom commands. Okay. So Cypress has n number of inbuilt commands, and Cypress also provides a flexibility. What we can do is we can create our own commands. Okay, with the help of the concept called custom commands. So this custom commands, it has two advantages. One is you can write your own commands, or sometimes what you can do, you can override the existing command in Cypress to construct our own test. Okay, and I'll give you both the examples so that you will get to understand. Okay, so there are some configurations that we have to do before we go and implement this custom commands concept. Okay, the very first thing is, let me close all this. Okay, very first thing, what you have to do, okay, you have to go to this E2E folder and we will find a support folder somewhere. Okay. Yeah, there is a support folder. Inside this E2E folder, you can able to see a support folder. Okay, in this support folder, there are two folders. There are two files. One is command.js, the other one is e2e.js. Let me go to this e2e.js. Okay, so here we have imported this. Can you see this got imported, and this statement you will find by default. If you go to this e2e.js, you can able to see there is a default import called commands. That means you can add your own custom commands. Okay, so the very important thing that you need to understand, see, when you start running any Cypress program, this is the first file that executes. Which file? This E2E. This file is the first file which executes when we load our test. Okay, so you can able to see this is processed and load automatically before loading your test files. That means before even loading the test file for execution, this is the file, what happens, which will get loaded to the memory and it will define all the basic things. So what I am saying is import all the commands, import the Mocha reporter plugins, so that when your test is getting executed, all the commands will be available for your test. Right. So, okay. Fine. So what I will do, I have created a file. Yeah, custom commands. Okay. So, okay, one second. Just to demo. Okay. Now, if I go to this command.js, I can add my own commands. You see now what I'm doing. If you go to command.js, you will find some default static code, a command code. You can delete everything and you can add a new command like this. So the syntax, how you can write your own command is cypress.commands.add. If you want to add a new command or a new method. Now you see, I am creating a method like this. Test demo app login, like a function. So you can treat this as a function. Like in any other programming languages, we have a function, right? So I'm just creating one command, test demo app login. And inside that, I'm having my logic. You see now what I'm doing? See, I have not created anything. Whatever we have created already, I'm just using it. Just go to this website. This is a login screen. Go to this website, type the username, type the password, click the button, right? And after clicking, I want to check whether there is a text. So suppose if I go to this URL, I'll show you what exactly I'm doing. Okay, I go to this login page. I go to this login page. Okay, and I want to give a username. Right, I have already created a valid username. I am a registered user there. The username what I want to give is this one. This is a valid username, remy@abc.com. I have created a dummy user, and the password is tested1234. Tested1234, and I want to click this login button. See, for this I have used all the selectors, everything. Okay, click the login button. The moment I click the login button, I am a valid user. So I got a logout message and I can able to see my name coming here, remy@abc.com. Okay. Now I'm just validating this text. Okay. I'm just going to this element. This is the CSS selector for that link. Okay. I'm just invoking the text and I'm just checking whether the text is equal to this one. I'm using this BDD chai assertions. You remember this? All this we discussed. To equal, that is BDD structure. Okay, now I don't want this. Okay, suppose this execution I want to do in multiple tests and multiple people want to do this. Okay, what I can do is I can create this as a command only, something like under command.js. And in whichever test I want to use it, what I can do, I can just call that method. Go to this custom command. You see now, in any test case, I can simply say side dot that method. Test demo app login. This is like a method now. Okay, it is a user-defined method. It is a command, a user-defined command which we have created, like side dot visit, side dot test demo app login. In any test, if I use, it will invoke that login, it will execute everything. So let me run this and see. So if I go to this custom command, I'll just go here and open the test. Custom command. And now you see now it is getting executed. It goes to the login. It types username, password. It checks the text. Okay, the page is still loading. Yeah, it checks whether the text and I'm getting a pass. So this element is matching with this text, right? In any test, simply I go, see, I don't want to import anything, nothing. Okay, because these files are the first files which are getting executed even before your test. So that is why I'm loading all the configurations there. Is this clear?
Yes.
Right. So this is how you can create your own custom command and run in any test. This is the benefit of having custom commands. Like this, you can create a number of commands and keep it ready. Okay, you can make your test more modular and reusable. Right. And the another use of this is you can override the existing methods also using custom commands. What is that? Okay. Now, if I go here, go to the same file. That is that file. Yeah. If I go here, let me take this type method. See, this is an existing command which Cypress uses, this type command. How this type works actually? See, whenever this statement is getting executed, what will happen? It will go to this element and it will type this element. I can able to see this element is coming in that element box. Suppose if I go to my test runner, I can able to see. Can you see now? So I can able to see the type remy@abc.com, and if I see the type here, this is the password. I can able to see this. But now, due to some sensitivity in my project, I don't want my password to get displayed like this. See, I don't want people whoever opens my test runner to actually get the password from here. See, I can able to see in the application, it is printing a star. If you look there, can you see in the password field at the right side? You can able to see the password is getting typed as asterisk. But what about in my test runner? See, anybody can see the test runner and they can able to retrieve my password. So which is a sensitive information. So which my organization doesn't allow. Or my client don't want this kind of information to get shared, because tomorrow what I will do, I will create a mock-up of some report and I will share it with everyone. People can able to see the password what I have used. Okay. But there is no other method using which I can type my password. I want to use type only, right? Or otherwise I need to think of some different logic as like a Cypress developer and create my own methods. Right? So I don't want to do that. I want to override type in such a way that it should not display this text, the password. So I want to override this type method. So you see how useful and how powerful Cypress is. This and all you cannot do in Selenium. Right? That is why this tool is very popular. This framework is popular. Now you see here what I can do. Let me come to the command session and let me altogether create a new function. This is an override function. You see this function, what I am creating. Cypress.commands, instead of add, you write override. That means I'm going to overwrite an existing system defined method. Which method I am going to overwrite? I'm going to override the type method. Okay. And this has some arguments. Like what is the original function of this type? And in which element this should behave like a override function. Just give me a moment. I'll just drink some water. Excuse me. Okay. Fine. So you can now get type is a method which I want to override, and what is the original function of it, and in which element when I am using this method, this has to override, and what is the text and the options. So when you want to override. Okay, so this you will get now. Now, you see now, whenever I call this method, okay, I'm not going to say the password. And you see now, I'm going to pass an option here. Whenever I'm typing the password, I'm just creating a parameter like sensitive is true. Okay, this is the option using which I want to overwrite. Sensitive is true. Whenever there is a sensitivity is true, then I want a different way how type method should work. Right? You see the condition here. I'm writing a custom code. If options, if there is an option, as well as if the option says sensitive. Okay, this is a keyword. You can use any word. Okay. You see now, if there are options given and as sensitive, hide the log. So what I'm saying, I'm simply saying options.log equal to false. That means it will not display the password. It will not log the password in the test runner log. We can see that. So now you see, wherever I want to execute the password, simply if I say sensitive is true, then it will not display the password in the test runner. whenever I'm executing type. But when I want to execute type normally, I can simply say like this. See here, type will behave normally as like a normal Cypress method. Here, type will behave as a overreturn method, which we have written the logic here. And I am just returning the original method. This is a function that you need to write. Now let me save all this and run our test case. That is our custom command test case where we have this method. Let me run this now. I have saved my test. Let me come here and run this. Now if I run this, you can note now the password will not come. Can you see here? I can able to see the username getting typed, remy@abc.com, but I can't able to see the password. Get password it is saying, but it is not showing me the password in the test log. It is sensitive because it is a sensitive information which we have overturned. It is not showing the password. See, you can tweak. Now this as per your requirement. Hey, it's okay. I want to show the password, but let it be masked. This is my custom requirement now. So what you can do, you can tweak your logic. Let me come back to my commands.js. You see this now. So what I'm doing is, I'm just mentioning the log. Okay, options.log is false, but what I can do is, I am defining some property. The element, what I am referring is this element, which comes from here. To which element I want to apply this options. That is for this element. This is the element. Okay, and which method we want to override. Type is the method which we want to override. With what message? I want to type asterisk and I want to repeat this asterisk based on the text length. What is the text length? This is the text length. This is the password. So based on the length of this password, I want to repeat asterisk in that element is what I am saying. You see? Okay. Now if I run this, let me save this method and let me run the same test case again. I can able to see the password, but now in asterisk. Can you see? Is this clear? You're getting
Yes.
the use of the custom commands.
Yes, sir.
These are all will be very much helpful in your project. There will be plenty of sensitive information which you will get. So you can tweak the data, you can tweak the existing Cypress methods to behave as per your requirements using custom commands. Right. All good. Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
Remy, is this
Yes.
add and this override? Is that the only two methods or this
Sorry.
function? In this one, you have used dot add, dot override, right?
Add.
So, dot add, commands dot add, commands dot override. So is this
Only two
the
things
two
you can do.
option?
You can either create a new method based on your custom options, or you can override the existing methods.
Okay.
You cannot completely change this method type to behave in the own way. Okay. So based on some options, you can override. If you don't use these options, it will behave normally.
Okay.
Like how it behaves here.
Okay, got it.
Right. Great. Okay. So we'll take a 5 minutes break again. We'll again quickly come back. There are a few more concepts that I need to cover. Okay, so we will take a short 5 minutes break and come back. We'll connect again at around 25. Okay, time is 8:20. We'll connect around 8:25.
Okay.
Correct. Okay then. Hey, hi guys, I'm back. You all are there?
Hey, Ravi.
Yes,
Yeah,
Ravi.
yeah. Great, great. Okay, so before we move on with next concept, so just want to understand your feedback. So how are things? So because today we are in the last day, so just want to understand so your level of understanding as well. So did you really find this session useful? Yes, no. Arun sir, what do you say? So I think I need to pick up people to talk. Yeah, fast, quick. We have a couple of more concepts to cover. Any specific feedback? If you like the sessions or like you got something.
Yes, Rami. Yeah, I will say, yeah, this session is really useful. You are covering the items which we really require in the project, not in like very depth where we need to learn all the concepts of all those JS and all. But you are saying the things which in a practical manner. So this is really helpful. I have gone through or I have attended multiple sessions, but I find this is really useful.
Thank you so much, Miri. Great. Okay, see, that is something which is very important, right? See, tomorrow, like after this session, so when you go and start working in your project, you should know the kind of requirements what we'll get. Okay, so because since I have worked on Cypress, I know the typical requirements what we get in today modern applications. I know, right? So that is how I cover up and I prioritize the things in such a way that you're also getting things, and accordingly, I will find some simple examples. I don't want to take up any complex scenario so that the concept like what I want to convey, so that you will get it. Right. So that is something which is very important. And if you also practically implement, and tomorrow when you start working on those cases, you can refer those demos. So that is the real intention of the sessions, and that is the reason I want you also to practice then and there. Okay, so today unfortunately it's the last day, and we have, and I don't want to miss out also certain concepts, right? And I want to cover up almost everything, like whatever is there with Cypress. But again, Cypress is a ocean, so there are plenty of concepts again in Cypress. But these are all the major things using which we can able to achieve a complete web automation. Right? Anybody else? Yeah. So we'll dedicate 2 more minutes, then we'll move on. Anybody else to share something? Alvin, Bhavya, Dilip, anybody? Jayashree. There are many silent listeners. Shambling Appa, Sijina, Vilesh. Anybody wants to say something?
Hi Remy, it was a very good session. We could understand most of the things. Since it was going in a slow pace, we could understand everything. That's the main thing. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank you
much.
so much. Thank you so much, Sijina, for your comments. Great. I'm also happy in case you find the session useful. So because we may not able to become a master in Cypress in this 5 days, but tomorrow if you just look into the requirement, or if you see the piece of code which somebody have already written in Cypress, at least you will get an idea. Oh, okay, these are all the methods that we have already learned, right? So that much of idea you will definitely get out of this session. Okay, so I will share you one quick link. I request each and everyone to please go and fill that feedback form. So this is something which will really help us. Okay, so which please go and fill this, and I will just put it in the chat. So just let me know if you can able to access this feedback form. So this is a feedback. You can just read this, read each and every question and answer accordingly. I'll give you 5 minutes for this. So please complete and just type done in the chat box so that you can, so that we can move ahead and start with API testing. There are two more concepts that I will cover. I will talk about API testing, and there is something which is very, very important called fixtures. Okay. So that also I will talk. Please don't mind if it extends for 5-10 minutes, the session. So just complete this form and let me know. Guys, please make it fast and confirm me as well. Hope you can able to access the feedback form.
Yeah, I was able to, Remy, and I've also submitted it just now.
Sure. Thank you so much, Bobby. Yeah, thanks, Sudhita. Thanks, Alvin. Yeah, if you have submitted, please type done in the chat box so that you all will know. Okay, Harshita, thank you so much. Thanks, Sri. Thanks, Mahindra. Yeah, thanks, Kavya. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Arun. Okay, so hope you can able to do it. And so please give the feedback without fail. We'll move on in the interest of time. So what we will do, we will start off with something called API testing. Okay, so what is the major difference between GUI testing and API testing? So what we have seen so far is completely into GUI testing. So that means I'll always get a web applications where there will be a lot of elements in it. So I need to the functionality, and accordingly I need to create test cases to handle all that. Right. But what is API testing? Any idea, anyone? Quickly, based on your understanding, what is APIs? And where do you think this APIs comes into picture?
Kind of translator between front end and back end.
Okay, kind of translator between front end and back end. Okay, it's not always between front end and back end. Between multiple applications. See, today in today's world, if you see any kind of business, so whatever you see, it revolves interacting with multiple applications. A very simple example, I would say, like you go and do a business, or like you purchase something in an e-commerce website. So something like Amazon or like Flipkart, the major popular what is that e-commerce giant sites nowadays, right? Say for example, let's assume that I am just buying a mobile via Amazon, right? So if you look at the kind of functionalities or like the kind of operations what we do, it is not confined only with Amazon website, right? So I want to just look for a mobile, right? So if I go inside Amazon, I can able to see the description, the specifications, all that. Right. See, somewhere I could see a link. Okay, if you want to get to know more about this specific mobile, so you go to the site. So when I click from there, so it will take me to the mobile operator site, right? So it may take me to iPhone website or to a Samsung website or to OnePlus website. So from there, what I can able to do, I can able to see more specifications and again come back to Amazon, right? And from Amazon, let's assume that I have decided, okay, so let me purchase this specific mobile. What I'll do, I'll just add that mobile to my cart, and then I need to again like go for what is that payment. The moment I go for payment, see, nowadays there are plenty of options. What I can choose pay by cash, or like cash on delivery, or like I can pay with GPay, I can pay with anything, right? So nowadays, if you take, I can transact via internet banking. So let's assume that I select internet banking. So now automatically what happens? It will go via a payment gateway, and using the payment gateway, I can connect to my bank. Let's assume that my bank is ICICI. So automatically I can able to see from Amazon, it communicates to my banking web server, and I can able to see the login page. So I interact over there, I give all my credentials, I complete the transaction, and again I can able to see from that application, it comes back to Amazon. Right. So in one business transaction, so if you could see, my application interacts with n different applications, different communication happens. See, there is no relation between Amazon and or ICICI or like ICICI or Samsung. You can able to see the kind of interaction that happens nowadays. Right? How all this communication happens. See, if you see any websites, for example, let's take Amazon. I'm just giving you a raw example, right? If you take Amazon, let's assume that it is they have created the website using Java, right? And let's say take the ICICI website which we have interacted. So they have used, let's say, .NET. So what is the relationship between Java and .NET? So both are totally different technologies, but still communication happens between these applications, because today's business mainly is meant on this kind of communication between different systems, which you can't even able to relate with. So how this communication happens? This communication happens via something called as APIs. Right. So there will be plenty of APIs how this communication happens. If you want to take a very simple example, you take any kind of brokerage sites, right? See, today life has become very simple. I can go to any place. I don't want to know about that place. I can book my hotels because there are a number of brokerage sites. I can use Make My Trip, Goibibo, or any website using which I can able to search anything on my interest. I don't want to know how many airlines are flying in India, how many airlines are operational in India. I don't want to know about all that. So I can just go to Make My Trip or Goibibo or any Trivago, any website, just type from this place, this is my requirement. You give me the list of flights, it will give me all the details. So how that communication happens, how Make My Trip knows how many Indigo flights fly in a day. So how that communication happens, right? So all this happens via APIs. APIs are nothing but REST calls that happens. Okay, so it is altogether a different study, but for our example, I'm just saying, let's assume that it is a kind of communication that happens over a request and response calls, right? Where the communication happens via JSON. Right. See, whenever in your application you have such a requirement, Cypress also provides a kind of API testing. So because you need to always validate the request and responses which comes from this API calls. Right. So you need to validate the APIs properly. So API testing is a must in today's modern web apps, because based on the functionality, we don't know how many APIs are there and how this API calls are getting presented, and like which server is getting connected to, what is the response that I'm getting from the APIs. All this has to get tested. So typically, when I talk about APIs, it is all about a JSON request and response. So I'm just taking one such example, a public API, which is available. I'll just quickly share my screen. Just let me know if you can able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Right. I'll take a public API. Okay. So this is a practice API, which is available on a public web server. I will just, there is a popular website called request.in. Okay. So this is just for practice. If you want to learn API testing, This is a very good website where you can start your career with API testing. If you are totally new, you can just use this website. So where you have a lot of practice API requests that they have given. So when you talk about APIs, there is something called get request, post request, put request, patch request, delete request. There are a lot of things. Okay. So when we talk about get, is something like already there is some information which I want to get by getting a request, by just pasting a request or like requesting using a get call. What I can able to do is I can get some information from the server. So that is what we call as get request, right? If you see, there is one example that they have given where I want to get the list of users, right? So this is what they are saying. If I click this request, 1 second. Okay, it is already giving me the list of users. If I click this list users, I can able to see. So can you see now the response what I'm getting is in the form of JSON, right? So let's assume that I have a requirement where I need to get the list of users from some server, and this is the request API that I need to pass, a kind of URL that I need to pass, and I need to get this response, and at the same time I need to get the response code of 200 is what they are saying. So I need to automate this transaction. So I need to ensure that when I post this request, suppose if I click this, you can able to see. Can you see now? When I click this specific request, it is giving me a request body, the response. This is the response that I'm getting from the server, and I want to validate this, or like I want to automate this. When I hit this URL, I want to get this response. So how to automate this in Cypress? Right. So this is what typically what we call as API testing. And if you see, I have created one test case. So let's assume that this is the test case that I have created, get request. I have created a request for everything. Let's say skip. I'll show you quickly. So this is for get request. I am just, see, whenever you are working with API calls, so you cannot say CUI.visit. CUI.visit is for GUI testing. If you are working with API calls, you need to say CUI.request. Okay. So what kind of request you're going to do? This is optional actually, get, but always I would recommend you to give this because you will know what kind of request you are posting, right? And this is the URL. So this I got from this website. If you see, this is the URL what I have hit, and I'm saying when I hit this request, get the response in a variable, right? So then I'm going to manipulate it. What I'm going to do, I want to log the response what I got. If you want to log this response, you want to convert it to a string. So this method we have already seen, json.stringify. And I'm just saying response.body. So body is a method in API testing which will give me the log body. This is the body. So this entire body now I will get in my console, CUI.log. Then I'm logging the status. The status is something like the status code. The status code, what I should expect is 200. This is the status code. So this will return me 200. And the status text is nothing but okay. See, when you get a 200 response, that means everything is successful. I will get a okay text code. That is the status text. So now I can also write some assertions, the validation, something like this. You see now, expect result dot status, whether it is equal to 200. And you see now the body, what I'm getting. If you look at the response body, so this is the response body that I'm getting. And in this response body, I can able to see, as I told you, can you see now? There are only two representations. One is a curly braces and the other one is a square bracket. Okay, now if you see, this data is a key and these are all the values. It is an array. Okay, in a JSON, you will find only key and value pair. Any information will be as represented as key and value pair. So this data is an array which consists of multiple elements. Suppose if I say data of 0, it refers this information. Data of 1, it refers this information. Similarly, if you see, there are 6 informations in data. So I'm just checking. You see now, result dot body dot data has length of 6. That means whether there are 6 elements in this data array. I'm checking. So you can also get inside that array. You see now, I'm just going to data of 0. Data of 0 basically represents this record. In this record, what I'm saying whether it has a property ID which matches with 7. So it has an ID which matches with the value 7. I can check. Similarly, I can check email whether it matches with this guy's name. I can validate anything just in a single line. Okay, I'm checking whether it has a property email. I can also check a single key like this. And similarly, total. If you see here, total is somewhere here, which is outside, which is not in this data array, which is outside. Okay, I can simply say whether this response body has property total 12. If all this condition matches, it will pass. So now suppose if I run this, I'll go to my test runner quickly. I'll open the test. Yeah, this is the test. It's running my get request. You see now, if I go here, it will give me the response, and you see all the assertions is passing, and it is giving me the complete log. Can you see now? The JSON response, what I'm getting, it is printing here, and the log 200 is the status, and this is the status text. Like this, I can validate anything. This is how, whenever in your project, if you get a get request, you can validate. And similarly, post request. Post request is something where you want to post some information to the server. See, suppose if I see here in this example, there is a post request which they have given. If I click this, they are saying you have to pass this body. You want to give two information. One is name, the other one is job. If you give, you should get a response status code of 201, and this is the response body that you should get. That means whatever name and job you are giving, that should come. By default, it should create an ID, and it should create a timestamp, what time it is getting created at. Okay, so this is something that we need to validate. Generally, these requirements will come from your API developer. So we need to test this. So how to create a post request? You can see side.request. So for post, I have to give the body as well. Okay, so I am just saying name is some name like John, and job is manager. Like how they have specified, there should be a name and job. Key you should not change. Exactly, you have to give the same key as per the schema. And value, you can give anything. See, I'm just giving John and manager, and I want to check all this. The status code should now be 201 because they have mentioned as 201. And I want to check whether the response body has property name John because I am passing John here. So when I get the response, I should check whether it has a name called John. I'm just validating that here. Okay, so let me run this quickly and see whether it is working. it.only. I will make this as it.skip. So now if I run this, I can able to see my post request. Yeah, so can you see now it is passing, and I can able to see the log body, name John, job, and ID, a dynamic ID is getting created, and I can able to see the timestamp of the server. So 7/23. So today it got created. You can able to see 17/7/2023, and this is the timestamp in the request server when this information got posted. Right. Actually, API testing is altogether a different study. Like how we have learned for 5 days, API testing will go for 5 to 6 days separately if we want to talk about only API testing. Right? Is this clear? Similarly, we have a put request. See, put is something modification. Okay. So already there is a record in the server. If I want to modify something, if I want to change the name or if I want to change the job, I can do that. So you see now this is the URL, and I need to change the name from John to Peter, and the job is manager. And these are the checks that I'm going to do. When I run this, it will change this and give me the output. And delete request is something you want to delete a record from the server. So which record you want to delete? you can just mention the URL, because all this information I have got from the sample website. If I go to delete, they are saying this. You see now, if you hit this request, a delete operation will happen and the status code will come as 204, and there should not be any response body. Now, if you come here, this is what we are doing. I'm checking whether the status is equal to 204, and I'm just getting the body. This will not return anything. And the status and status code I am checking. Right. So this is a simple API call, how to perform a get request, post request, put request, and delete request is what I have depicted here. You're getting some idea? Yes, no.
Yes. I have one question.
Yeah.
In our project, we have some condition, like when we click on this button from the front end, it will create some requests. So suppose in that screen, I have filled some optional data, like some search criteria. If I am entering, then only it will go in that post request. So if I have to validate whether when I fill the UI and I clicked on the button, whether the request has
no problem. You don't want to see, this is a complete post call. This is a complete API request. But what you can do is you can mix up your GUI as well as API. That is the advantage in Cypress. If you take Selenium, you can't able to perform API testing. In Selenium, you can't able to do API testing. Suppose from Selenium, if you want to do API testing, you need to import a different dependency called Rest Assured. Using Rest Assured, you can perform API testing. But Cypress, in one test case, you can have your GUI testing as well as API testing. Okay, you write the logic, what you're going to do in your front end. And if you click on a specific button, where it has to go, what you need to validate, you write something like this.
Okay, so if in this one we are validating the data in the response, right?
Yes.
So if I have to validate something in the request, then should I mention req.body something?
Here we are doing body. See, this is just a variable. Okay. What do you want to validate? In the request, what do you want to validate?
I want
request
to validate
is just a URL. That is altogether a different request. So it will come in a different way. If you want, I'll give you later how to validate a request. Here we are validating the response body. I'm not validating anything from the request. Okay, this example will validate only the response body.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes. Maybe can you give some samples later?
I don't have right now. I'll give you.
Okay.
I'll give my email ID. So maybe like I'll share it with you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay. Next, the last concept is fixtures. So I'll just take 10 more minutes. Okay, this is something which is very, very important for any kind of automation testing. Okay, so if you look at it in your structure, in your Cypress folder structure, you will find something called fixtures. Okay, so this folder is a special folder in Cypress to have test data. That means we do data-driven testing, right? Any test case, if we take, we will have some data that we will give. Like you take any login test, we have to pass username, password, all that. So those data, what I can do, I can have in this fixtures folder. In any format, I can create a text file, I can create a JSON file, I can create a JavaScript file, I can have a CSV file, anything I can have in this fixtures. Right. So what I do, first, I go to this fixtures folder. By default, you will find one example.json. You can ignore that, or if you want, you can delete that. I created one login file. So if I go to this login file, you see now, This is a JSON file, so which should have key and value pairs. So I have created one key called uname, and I have given some value. Okay, remy@abc.com and some password, and this is the password. So any kind of input, whatever you want to give for any test, you can create in this fixtures folder. So hope you're getting what I'm saying. Now, step number 2 is you need to create a test case to load the fixture file. So that means this fixture file we need to load there so that we can use all these variables there directly. Okay, so we can directly access the fixture data in a single test case. Okay, I'll show you that file. Okay, you see this. Okay, how to directly access the fixture data? 1 second, I will just say. Right. So you see now how to directly access the fixture data. See, now I'm just going to this website. So we have seen this for a previous example. I'll go to this website and directly I can say cy.fixture. Cypress can now able to understand. See, this is a method in Cypress. And directly I can refer the JSON file, what we have created in our fixtures, login.json. Right. So you don't want to give this extension. This extension is optional. Simply if you say login, it can able to recognize this file. Okay. So I'm just reading this fixture file directly from my test case. Okay. So using this then method, then data, automatically this data will get all the username, password, whatever we have defined in this fixture, Right. So hope you're getting what I'm doing. Okay. Right. Now, if I want to get that data, I can simply say cy.get. This is the element. Directly, I will say data.uname. So uname, whatever I have given there, will automatically populate here. I don't want to hard code the data. Similarly, I can give the password. I can click the button. Right. And I can also validate the text and I can check whether it is equal to data.sh. So this all comes from the fixtures. Is this clear? This is clear. Like a global variable. In any test case, if I want to access this fixture, I can access it directly. Something like this. I can use this command. Is this clear? Suppose if I run this in my Cypress runner. Run this file. I can able to see it goes to this website. 1 second. There is some problem. Yeah, no, it's slower. Yeah. I can able to see. Can you see now? It went and typed all this ABC, test 1, 2, 3, 4, all this. It comes. See, this information comes from my fixture. Hope this is quite straightforward. And the only thing you need to just remember this command. That's it. Okay. But now, what I want to do is, I have, see, this is okay when I have just one test case. But suppose I want to refer this fixture file in multiple test cases. See, in every test case, then I am forced to write this command. Right? I don't want to do that. See, suppose there is another test case where I want to use this email, password, all that. So every time what I need to do, I need to write this command. So instead, what I can also do is, I can have this command in a hook, in a before hook. Can you see now? You remember hook before. See there what I can do, I can write this logic. So simply I can say cy.fixture login.json, then data. Then I can have this in a variable. So this user data is a global variable. I can just define one global variable and I can just pass this data. So now what happens in any test case? See, suppose if I skip this, I don't want this. Suppose if I run this test case. Now you see here, what I am doing is I am directly referring with this global variable username, user data dot uname, user data dot password. See, automatically what will happen in any test case, I can directly refer this user data dot uname. I don't want to say cy dot fixture in every test case. It again depends on your requirements. Suppose if there is only one test case where you are going to refer the fixture data, you can directly load that using cy dot fixture in that test case. Suppose you have multiple test case where you want to refer the same fixture data, then what you can do? You can use hooks concept and you can have that in before or before each, and you can directly refer something like this. This is clear.
Rami, can you show the fixture file once more? Okay.
This is the fixture file. Okay. Now this is one requirement where like the kind of test data which you feel that you will be using again and again in repeated test cases, you can put everything under fixture. But this is not data-driven testing. Data-driven testing is something like executing the same login screen with multiple sets of data. That is data-driven testing. Right. See, suppose if I take the same test case, I want to execute this logic multiple number of times. And for each and every time when I invoke this email, it should give different username, not the same username. So how to achieve that? How to achieve data-driven testing in Cypress? This is again a core concept in automation, right? Not always we will give single set of data. We want to test a registration page, or I want to test a login page, or I want to check some account details where people will enter few information dynamically. So how to achieve data-driven testing in Cypress? That is also achieved with the help of fixtures. So for that, I have created one more JSON file, login1.json. So you refer this. See, now the data is in an array, and each and every set of data is in a key value pair. You see now? Okay, so there is a username, there is a password, and there is a expected output. And these are all some invalid credentials. I will give some random username, password, and I will say invalid credentials. Okay. So that means whenever I run my test case, it should run 3 times based on the requirement. So that is 1 valid and 2 invalid. Now for this, I have created a logic. You see now. See, I want to go to this website. Okay, this is my website. And here I have a login screen. Now you see, I'm just loading the fixture. Loading this fixture. Then I'm just getting the data, and this data I'm putting it in a for each loop. That means this data is an array which consists of 3 records, and for each record I'm just assigning it to this variable called user data. Now I'm just getting this uname and password and performing this click. Now I am just checking with the if condition. You see now. See here, the tool will not do anything. Cypress will not do anything. We need to write the logic. How many times you need to execute, what validations you need to do, all that you only need to write. So I am just checking if user data is admin and this password is this, which means it's a valid user. So I have to go and perform this operations. Suppose if it is the username and password is not this, then I have to go to a different place and check with a different expectation. So what is this expected? It comes from here, from the fixtures file. Okay, so my application will display this invalid credentials text. I want to validate that text. If it is a valid screen, I will get some visual cue Based on this, I am validating here. So now if I go here and if I run this from here, I will go and run that spec. So you can able to see, it will open that website. Okay, this is also a demo website. All the websites, all the examples, what I'm using are all accessible from your end as well. Okay, so you see now, it is taking the data from the fixture file. And this is the first record. And then it logs out and again takes the second set of data. This is an invalid record. So it will validate the invalid credentials text. Then it is taking the third set of data. Now it is validating. And it will check that invalid credentials text is coming. And if everything is coming, it will pass. So you see now, it is checking that invalid credentials text. It will retrieve this text and matches with that fixtures data, whether it has invalid credentials. If both are matching, it will say pass. This is clear. This is something which is very, very important in any kind of test automation, what you do, not only in Cypress. Data-driven testing is something which is very important, even in Selenium also. And again, in Selenium also, it is very tough. Selenium will not do data-driven testing on its own. You have to extend it to a different library called. Any idea what do you do in Selenium? Let me not repeat.
Testing.
No, TestNG is a testing framework, but if you want to do a proper data-driven testing, you want to extend it to what? There is a library from Apache PY library. You have to use that. There you have rich set of methods using which you can perform data-driven testing. Even using TestNG, you can able to do it to an extent. But this is very powerful and very fast in Cypress. Right. So that's it. So we have covered almost everything. But again, as I told you, Cypress is not only limited to whatever we have seen. There are plenty of things again, but this will give you a base. So tomorrow, or like already you started working on something, this will give you a very good starter for you to kickstart your journey with Cypress. So I believe this 5 days was really useful for you. If in case you have not practiced, I would sincerely advise you to practice with whatever concepts. Please see the recording slowly. Please pause the recording. Try each and every demos. Okay, so that you will get a better confidence on working with Cypress. Right. That's it. So I'm done with whatever I wanted to say in this 5 days. Now, if you have any questions, we will take another 2 more minutes. So I know it is like we are extending for quite some time. And since today is the last day, I don't want to skip off any concepts and I wanted to cover up everything. Any comments if you have, you can please share. Hi, Shrikant, want to say something?
The session was very useful, Rami. Like the pace was also good, and you covered all the relevant topics. And yes, so it will be very beneficial for everyone who attended.
Yep. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, if you have any specific requirements, you can reach out to me anytime. I'll just share my mail ID in the chat. Okay, if you have any feedback or anything you want to share it, or like if you have any questions or any help in the future, so please reach out to me. I can able to assist you. not only in Cypress, in any test automation framework like Selenium or like any tools, even like UFT, Tosca, anything that you are really interested, so you can reach out to me. Okay, so thank you so much. I don't want to waste much of your time, and thanks everyone for all your support. And it was really good. I really enjoyed. So like the kind of even though you were silent, I was sure that you are practicing and you are listening, and so that was in fact really good. And so thank you so much, everyone, and
Thanks.
wish you all
Thank
good
you very
luck.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Modi. Yeah, thank you so much, Ulesh. Yeah, so thanks a lot.